Fulfillment doesn't come from doing more. Welcome back, everybody, to week 2 of the Clarity Code. We have already worked on understanding our clarity, and this week is everything around fulfillment. Now, just a friendly reminder that I want to give it to you today is to let your judgments behind. Let anything, any ideas, any concepts, anything that you have in mind, just let it behind so that you can absorb all the information that I am about to give you and you can get the best out of this training. And the second one is the way you show up here is the way you show up everywhere. If you're only showing up halfway, you're going to get half results. But if you keep on showing up, if you keep on completing your tasks, on doing the inner work, on completing the journals, on doing the guided visualizations, you're going to get the best out of this course. As I promised to you, you're going to get to understand what is your purpose, what is creating fulfillment in your life, and how can you have a clear direction towards where you want to go. Now, this week, we are going to define what really lights you up, but we're going to do it in our own terms. Shall we start? Now, to uncover what fulfillment really means to you, not based on what we were taught, not based on, as we already know, on those societal expectations, on what our family wants from us, on what your partner wants from us. We need to understand what is that we really crave, but from our soul. Fulfillment is not a destination, it's a way of being. Now, what happens is because we have this wrong idea of what fulfillment means, which is just achieving something, we think that by achieving certain things in our lives, we are going to be fulfilled. But the reality is that it is not like that. Now, in week 1, we discussed about clarity and why is it so important to understand how to have clarity, how to tap within your own wisdom. This week, we're going to understand deeper what fulfillment really means. Now, to start with, we need to understand 4 different points that I'm going to be sharing here. Fulfillment, first of all, is a sense of meaning and alignment. Now, when we talk about meaning and alignment, it is important to understand that you need to tap within the wisdom of your soul, within the wisdom of your own being, so that you can truly know what is meaningful to you, what brings joy into your life. Now, the second one is fulfillment is a state of inner riches and peace. When we experience real fulfillment in our lives, and I am pretty sure you have all done it, you just haven't identified it yet. When we experience fulfillment, it often leaves us with a sense of peace, with a sense of gratitude, with a sense of joy. And today you're going to learn how to use joy in a way that becomes a tracker for you to understand whether you're experiencing fulfillment or not. Isn't that amazing? Now, fulfillment is living in congruence with your values. And why is it so important to have clarity? It's because you will get to know and to understand what are your values and how can you start doing things in your life that are congruent to what you believe, to what you truly believe, not to what you were told to believe. And fulfillment is also a quiet knowing that you are on the right path. When we start experiencing fulfillment in our lives, when we start experiencing alignment in our lives, it is as if the universe is constantly giving us hints and signals and telling us exactly where we are exactly and where are we going. And it all comes from within. Now, what fulfillment is not? Just pleasure or superficial success. Many people, and I'm pretty sure you have experienced it as well, and that's why you are doing this course. We think that achieving certain things in our lives are going to bring us fulfillment. Perhaps getting a new phone, perhaps getting a new title, getting a new degree, getting a new job, getting that car that you have dreamed of. But whenever we talk about things that are superficial, fulfillment is often not there, because fulfillment doesn't come from the external, it comes from within. Now, fulfillment is not the same for everybody. I can come here and I can give you a concept, a general concept, and you're going to think, okay, that's fulfillment. Now, how do I find it? But fulfillment is different for every single person. And again, that's why we need clarity. That's why we need to understand who we are so that we can know what truly fulfills us. Now, it is not something external, or it's not something that you can go and buy it. It's something that you will experience it once you start getting to know who you really are. It is not a constant state of euphoria, but it brings you deep contentment. Now, with that, we're going to move into the next activity. Now, I want you to think, why do you think you feel empty even when things look good? And this is called the fulfillment void. Yeah. Basically, it starts when we start living in autopilot, when we disconnect from our truly desires, from who we truly are. Like if we were born given certain beliefs, certain thoughts, if we were born normalized to use these masks, think about the moment we start just living because of the sake of living, we disconnect from who we truly are, we disconnect from what we truly desire. We start chasing achievements over authentic alignments. Perhaps you were passed on to a dream from generation to generation that you needed to get that house, and the moment that you got that house, or the moment that you got that degree, you realized that that wasn't bringing you any fulfillment. And I personally experienced this. I was working in a career over 9 years, following what everybody else wanted me to do, thinking and believing that the title, that the higher I went in the ladder of what this career expected from me, the more I was going to be fulfilled. But the reality was that I was completely disconnected from who I really was. Now, we also start experience this void when we disconnect from joy and the present moment. We the reason why I have brought to you these guided meditations, visualizations, is for you to start experiencing what does it feel like to sometimes just shut down our thoughts, follow a guide, and eventually find more clarity. The reason why we don't find fulfillment as well is because we are so disconnected from ourselves, from the reality of selves. We're constantly overthinking that sometimes you might be doing things that they are bringing you fulfillment, but because you're not aware of it, because you are so out there, you cannot even see it. You're so disconnected that you cannot experience joy anymore. When I think about it once more, when I was in my career and I didn't like it, I didn't enjoy it, I was constantly disconnected from joy. Nothing that I was doing was bringing me that joy that this is bringing me today in my life. We also tend to go into the void when we start suppressing creative and emotional expressions. Imagine, like, if we are constantly wearing these masks, if we are constantly pretending certain things, we start suppressing our essence, suppressing who we really are, suppressing our emotions. We say yes because of the sake of saying yes. We don't know how to say no. We don't know how to set boundaries. We don't know how to tell everybody, okay, this is not about you anymore. This is about me and myself only. And by suppressing all those emotions, then we tend to go into, these endless hours of doom scrolling, or just waiting for the weekend so that you can go to parties, so that you can go and have sex, so that you can do any activity that is going to make you avoid facing the feelings that you need to start facing. What happens when we start avoiding, our expressions, our true selves, is we stop with being creative. And one thing that you need to understand is that you weren't meant to survive. You were meant to feel alive. You were meant to thrive in this life. But because we live in such a matrix, like literally, if you have seen the movie The Matrix, that's kind of the reality where we are currently living. We are constantly trying to survive. And when we are trying to survive, we completely disconnect from who we really are, and we completely disconnect from what we are truly meant to be doing in this world. Now, your purpose, your mission, it can be big, it might not be that big. But when you discover what truly brings fulfillment into your life, and you're going to discover it in a few seconds, in a few minutes, you're going to see that your reality is going to shift completely. Now, I want to share with you 4 key points because, yes, we can understand the concept, right? But I'm pretty sure at this stage you're wondering, but how do I find it? How do I find what brings me fulfillment? Now, these 4 points that you can see in the screen is what will allow you to understand how do I know that I am fulfilled. Yeah. Now, the first one is what brings you joy in your life. I want you to think about small moments in the past, small or big moments, things that happened in the past that really sparked a genuine delight in your life. That when you did it, you felt so alive. I remember when I was working in hospitality, what made me feel so alive was when I helped a guest to go from sad and emotional state, perhaps they were stressed or they were unhappy, to have them super happy, making them feeling at home. And that's how I started connecting that I was interested in serving others. It was those those small moments in my previous career that I realized that it was bringing a sense of joy, a sense of fulfillment. Now, the other one is you lose track of time. You know, think about what are the activities that you have allowed yourself to go all the way in that makes that make hours feels like minutes. Sometimes when I start creating content or when I am just working with a client, and if the session is so valuable and so exciting, time just flies. Like there is days that I am doing my things and then I realize and it's the end of the day, and I am feeling so alive and I am feeling so connected. Now the other one is deep inner peace. Fulfillment is connected to peace. Fulfillment will not ever make you feel stressed. Fulfillment is striving, remember, not surviving. So which situations in your past have created a profound sense of calm and contentment? And then the last one is which are the values that make you alive? Which are the core beliefs and principles that energize and guide you? Now, if you think about fulfillment, it is very connected to your personal development, to your career. So one very simple question to ask yourself to understand what are your values is what is it important to you about your personal development or your career? If you ask this for 3 to 5 times until you start getting repeated values, you will be able to see what are your values, what is it important to you. Now, if you do this exercise, wouldn't it be amazing to understand what are my values around fulfillment and how can I start thinking about which activities in my life can allow me to experience more of these values, and therefore will allow me to be more aligned, and it will bring true fulfillment into my life. Now, remember that I was saying that today you're going to learn how to use joy to understand how much fulfilled you are in your life? Well, joy is a sacred data. Whenever we are experiencing joy, whenever we have these big moments where you feel alive, where you feel so connected, you know, that is when you know that you're walking in alignment and that you're being fulfilled. And all that you need is to bring awareness towards it. And again, I'm going to put more emphasis. The reason why I ask you to meditate, why I give you these guided visualizations, is because it will allow you to connect back with yourself so that you can create more awareness towards the type of thoughts that you're having, the type of things that you're experiencing, so that you can be a little bit more present. And within that presence, within that awareness, you can see that joy is your compass. And from now on, because you have done the activity that I am going to be giving you in this week, because you have completed the activity, you're going to be able to realize, these moments are the moments that are allowing me to feel fulfilled. These are the things that are allowing me to feel more aligned with who I am, with my purpose. Now, the idea is that first you get clarity. So week one was everything about clarity, and then now we're talking about fulfillment. But now we are identifying. Because we have more clarity, then we allow ourselves to identify all these four key moments. Now, a little bit of an exercise. I have left in the guide, I have left in the portal a guide where you're going to be able to reflect in past moments in your life. And you will have to think, okay, do I feel fulfilled? Do I feel satisfied with all these experiences? Or which are other experiences that I have had in the past that allow me to feel fulfillment? You will be able to identify recurring patterns which light you up. And we're going to clarify, where you might be settling or self-abandoning your needs. Now, when we talk about this spectrum of fulfillment, I also want to bring these points with you. Looking back at your life, are there certain people, activities, and environments that consistently bring you fulfillment? I want you to think about what are the common elements in these fulfilling experiences. How can you bring more of these elements into your daily life? Now, it doesn't necessarily means that you're going to be changing your activities drastically. But if you know that a certain feeling, a certain emotion brings fulfillment into your life, then think about which other activities can also activate this feeling and also activate this emotion so that you can work much more aligned. And then the other one is, now we're going to I want you to see and to understand what is stopping you from creating fulfillment. So what is one belief or habit that you know that is blocking your fulfillment? Now, for me, being completely vulnerable, I know that alcohol was an issue in my life in the past. When I was in hospitality and I was escaping from my feelings and escaping from my emotions, all that I wanted was to party on my days off, to go for one drink. And I knew that this habit was completely blocking me from experiencing fulfillment because I was just escaping my reality. Now I want you to think about, if you identify the block, what will your life look like if you let this habit go? And think about, how can you start interacting more with people that they are supporting you when it comes to understanding who you really are, when it comes to tapping within your fulfillment, to tapping within your essence so that you can walk in alignment in life. So here are the things that you're going to be completing this week. I want you to complete the fulfillment journaling worksheet. Here you're going to be able to deep dive into your experiences, into your insights. Then you're going to do the fulfillment spectrum exercise where you're going to see which activities create more fulfillment in your life, which habits create less fulfillment in your life, which are the things where I need to start focusing on now, and where are the things that I need to let go. You're going to be reflecting in your journal, seeing things that have worked in your life and seeing things that they haven't worked in your life, seeing things that they have brought you fulfillment and things that they haven't. And the most important is to complete your fulfillment visualization. Now, this activity, as I said before, you can do it once per week or you can do it the 7 days. If you do it every single day, you're going to be able to get more insights. The idea of this course is for me to bring you the concepts, for me to make you question certain things in your life. But at the end of the day, the only person that can find their own answers is yourself. Remember, it is about connecting with your soul, with your essence, so that you can find true fulfillment, so that you can find that purpose in life. Now, I wanted to share in the community. You know that here you have access to see other members in the group. You have access to post in the portal. So I just want you to share in the portal what is one thing that makes you deeply fulfilled. Share it with others. Allow the world to start knowing more about yourself. This course, this platform is not just something that you're going to do and you're going to forget about it, but allow yourself for others to see your growth, for others to see your journey, because the moment you start showing up into the world, you start showing up for yourself. So I want you to honor. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be huge, it can be super small, but honor what's real for you. And remember, the way you show up here is the way you show up everywhere. So show up fully. I'm going to leave you with this phrase. Your fulfillment doesn't come from doing more. It comes from being more of you. You can achieve, tomorrow you can become a millionaire. But if you're not fulfilled, you're not going to find anything. I remember I met a millionaire back in Australia. He had a company in Brisbane, a construction company. He had his value every year, like net value, was $33 million. And he told me, I've never done so much money in my life as I am doing it right now, but I feel so empty. I literally just create money because of the sake of creating it, but I don't feel happy. Again, fulfillment doesn't come from doing more. It comes from being more of you, more of your essence, more of sharing that expression, that inner expression of your soul. And what is next? What are we going to be covering next week? We're going to be talking about purpose. Now that you have clarity, and that you know what lights you up, we're going to be exploring and going deeper and deeper to understand how this can be translated into your mission, into your message. How can you tomorrow start working in fulfillment, start working in alignment, and start living your purpose and start creating the reality that you have always desired? Keep leaning in. Your truth is unfolding beautifully. It might be uncomfortable. Doing the journals might bring certain feelings, might bring certain emotions. Do not escape. Embrace them. Even if they are bad, love them. You are here for a reason. Just remember that. So I want to say thank you so much for this session. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I will see your comments and I will see you next week. As you have reached the end, I want to give you a little bonus. When we think about fulfillment, when we think about inner joy, something that we can tap is to go deep within those memories when you used to be a kid. Now, to give you some insights, when I was doing these activities and when I was asking myself, how can I be more fulfilled? How can I find that which lights me up? Usually, the things, the dreams that you had when you were a kid, and people used to think that you were crazy because you were thinking like that. Those are the things that are going to bring you fulfillment. Now, when I was a kid, I remember I used to get so excited when I had all my cousins at home, and then we will start playing, and I will start planning shows, and I will make them do choreographies, and we will do an scenario, and I will get my uncles and aunties to sit in front of us to see the show that we were going to give. And when I think about it, right, um, what I loved was to, in a way, when we are kids, we can see the essence of people, and I remember I was able to see that in my cousins, and I wanted them to shine. And it was so connected with the idea that I just love making events, I love creating events. That brings me such a deep sense of fulfillment. And how did I realize all this? Because I was able to go back to those memories. So take these insights, go back to your memories when you were a kid, and see when you were a kid what was bringing you joy, what was bringing you excitement, what made you feel more connected with who you truly were. And in a blink of an eye, you're gonna be able to find what is that brings you fulfillment in your life, experiencing fulfillment. Now, the first one and the most common is, what will other people think if I follow this path? When I was thinking about moving careers for the third time, when I just first graduated from school, I started studying architecture, and then I went into interior design. I didn't like it. I wanted to become a pilot. My parents didn't have the money to pay for that career, so then I decided to study hospitality. And then imagine if I let myself be stopped because of the idea of what will people think if I change careers again. And here I am. So we often like to think, what will other people say? What will my parents say if if I am 35 and I realize that I hate my life, that I hate what I am doing, and I want to start from zero? What my partner will say if I tell him or her that I am just over with what I am doing right now and I need to start from zero? That is one of the biggest blocks that we can have. Now, the other one is the fear of the unknown. We get so afraid when we have to try with things that we don't know. As you are trying right now, you're being questioned, you are being triggered. But the moment we start thinking that we have to start from zero and we don't know what that path looks like, that we have zero idea of what is it going to be like tomorrow, we get so afraid, therefore we just stop ourselves from pursuing that path. And because our ego loves familiarity, your ego is going to start putting so many ideas, so many doubts on yourself, so that you don't get out of that comfort zone. But if we pass that boundary, if we go beyond that, that's where you're going to find your real essence, who you really are, your fulfillment. And then the other one that blocks everybody is this limiting belief of, I am not worth it. I am not good enough to be doing what I came here to do in this life. I don't have the skills, I don't have the resources. But we can all restart. Now it's up to you to let go these common beliefs so that you can find fulfillment. And then if you think about habits, what are the bad habits that you know that you need to stop doing them so that you can find time to connect with yourself? If you are doom scrolling for 4 hours every single day, then you know that that is exactly what you need to stop. And perhaps you can invest those 4 hours in meditating, learning how to meditate, in starting reading books that can help you to expand your mind. If you know that you have the habit of drinking every weekend, as I used to have, how can you reframe that habit? How can you change it for something that will not make you be hungover on the Sunday and you can do something much more productive? I hope this has served you.